On today's show, the Warriors were the turkey and got absolutely cooked by Reed Sheppard, who dropped a career high in this Rockets win. How the defense absolutely shut down Steph Curry in this one and more. It's all coming up right here at Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Happy Thanksgiving to all those who celebrate. What is up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now the #1 sports podcast network. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Thursdays. Be sure to follow along wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Rockets, where the best way you can help us grow our show is to listen every single day on a podcast platform of your choosing, and then like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. On today's show, the Rockets come from behind win against the Warriors, 104-100, missing so many key rotation players. No Kevin Durant, no Steven Adams, still no Tari Eason. Didn't matter. Rockets found a way to get this win, led by Reed Sheppard's career high performance, 31 points in this game. He was sensational. They got this win on the backs of their defense, putting clamps on Steph Curry throughout this game. A fantastic defensive performance from this one. We'll also get into some of the shooting struggles for Alperen, Sengun, and Ime Thompson against the Warriors. A lot to unpack from this game. First, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. If your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. And as always, thanks so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on your way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Maybe you're trying to escape the family festivities for a little bit at Thanksgiving and you're sneaking away to listen to LOR. However you listen to the show, thank you so much for being one of our amazing everydayers. 104-100 win against the Warriors, a game that the Rockets trailed for 3 quarters of until they came back and took the lead early in the fourth quarter, and then pretty much never relinquished it, right? This was a game that was all Warriors through 3 quarters, and then the Rockets just hung around, and then took the lead, and then were able to execute down the stretch and pull this one out. And we'll talk about the comeback a little bit later on and how they were able to turn this game on its head and take control of the reins in the fourth quarter. But I want to start with the big story from this game. How could it not be? Reed Sheppard, Isaiah Reed Sheppard, IRS, the tax man cometh to collect. 31 points, a career high for Shep on 12 of 25 shooting, 4 of 12 from downtown, 3 of 4 at the charity stripe. He had some clutch free throws. He went 1 for 2 at the line there on the first go around in the clutch. And then he got back to the free throw line and hit 2 of 2 to wrap it up. 9 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, 2 blocks, and only 2 turnovers in his 37 minutes of run. And the Rockets don't get this win without Reed Sheppard. Reed Sheppard was the Rockets' star in this game, in a game where the Rockets' other stars, where Alperen, Sengun, and Ime Thompson both struggled in this one. Reed Sheppard delivered in a really big way. The efficiency wasn't great, right? The efficiency wasn't great for anybody in this game. Both teams really struggling. The Warriors shot only 43% from the floor. Rockets shot 39% from the floor. This was, whenever these two teams meet, these are ugly, like grinded out defense first affairs between these two organizations. And sometimes it's just about whoever can get up the most. It might not be pretty. It might not be the most efficient. It might not look great, but sometimes you just need to get buckets and just keep trying and get multiple bites at the apple. Took Reed Sheppard 25 shots, but he got there on a career high 31 points. And this Warriors team was doing everything they could to stop him. I mean, this Warriors team, this is the exact same Warriors defense that the Rockets faced in the postseason this last playoffs. And the blitzing, the double teaming, the aggressive point of attack defense, sending 2 to the ball with Draymond Green jumping out, trying to blitz ball handlers. And yet Reed Sheppard handled it about as good as you could hope for, right? He only had the 2 turnovers. He was splitting the defense. He was knocking down shots. He was scoring at all 3 levels. Knocked down a few early triples in this game and got going really fast in the first quarter. And then, he was clearly the main offensive threat on this Rockets team as the game progressed. So much so to the point that like the Warriors were guarding him with like Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green on like blitzes and double teams on the perimeter. And Reed was still able to take care of the basketball, make the right outlet pass, get it to Alperen Sengun in the middle of the floor, who's then able to attack, a 4-on-3 defense. And this was like, I mean, where was this? Like, this would have been incredible to have against the Warriors in the playoffs this last go around. And it just speaks volumes about how much Reed has grown in such a short amount of time. The aggressive point of attack defense, the blitzing, the double teams that gave the Rockets so much trouble in the playoffs, and watching Reed just slowly deconstruct the Warriors defense. And look, there were still points where, the pressure got to him, or he had to pick up his dribble, or had to do, this, that, or the other thing. But there were also a lot of points where Reed was able to bend and warp the defense to do whatever he wanted to do, whether it was, running pick and roll and then getting downhill and getting to his mid-range game, or driving all the way to the rim for the dunk that he had when the seas kind of parted. Those little cross-court skip passes that he had to the weak side corner for wide open shooters. He had the one where, he had the one pass that he like rifled under the rim to Ime Thompson. And I don't even know how Ime Thompson caught it and managed to finish it at the rim. He like had to catch it and contort his body midair to finish that shot. But you could tell Reed's confidence, it's at an all-time high right now. And he has been empowered by the coaching staff. His teammates believe in him. And the toothpaste is out of the tube. Like Reed Sheppard is here and hopefully here to stay, even upon the return of Kevin Durant. This feels eerily reminiscent to when Ime Thompson was inserted into the Rockets starting lineup in place of Jabari Smith Jr. last season due to Jabari's injury. And we never looked back, right? Ime Thompson never left the starting lineup after that. And obviously this isn't a situation quite as severe as Jabari's hand injury that was going to have him out for a couple months. But even this little small 2-game sample size, maybe more depending on when Kevin Durant comes back, although Ime Udoka said that he expects him back for the next game against the Jazz this upcoming Sunday. It just feels like you can't go back now. Reed Sheppard in the starting lineup, watching even just in the first quarter, those off-ball moments with Reed Sheppard playing off of Alperen Sengun and Ime Thompson and just lifting the defense, moving or floating into those open shooting pockets to be able to be that release valve for those guys when they're trying to attack and break down the defense. It just means too much. And you're starting to see Reed get even more comfortable actually running the show with the ball in his hand. So at this point, it's about how much can the Rockets really willingly commit to Reed Sheppard, letting him run the show, letting him get a feel for orchestrating this offense, because the Warriors treated him like a star player. They were double teaming him. They were trying to stop him, and they didn't have an answer for him. And I think, to me, my favorite moment from Reed Sheppard in this one, he had some great defensive plays in this one, like some great hustle moments, deflections, steals, not giving up on plays. And, that speaks volumes of where he's at and how he continues to grow defensively as well. But my number one play from him in this game was when he split the defense. This was in the fourth quarter, and Reed had like this left to right behind the back dribble. So going from his left hand to his right hand behind the back dribble as he was like crossing the lane at the free throw line, and immediately picks the ball up with his right hand and elevates directly into his midi pull-up over the defender. And they were talking about on the broadcast, Richard Jefferson, Tim Legler, which shout out, the ESPN broadcast is phenomenal now with Tim Legler and Richard Jefferson and Mike Breen. That is probably, to me, the number one broadcasting team in the game right now. Love Tim Legler. He's been a fantastic addition to them. That move looked very CP3-esque, right? If you're a Rockets fan that was here for the CP3 era in Houston, or if you've watched CP3 throughout his career, right? That little behind the back crossover at the free throw line, elevating into the midi pull-up from about 15 feet, that's a CP3 staple. And watching Reed Sheppard break that out against a great Warriors defense, we're living in the Reed Sheppard era now, guys. It's crazy. what a fantastic outcome and a great another. That's the thing, is he keeps stacking these quote unquote breakout performances. And at some point, it's not breakout performances anymore. It's just, this is what we're coming to start to expect from Reed Sheppard. And he's still young. He's still only a sophomore, right? Only his second NBA season. He's still going to have some inconsistency in his game. He's going to have games like last game against the Suns where, we were hoping for and expected a big game with him in the starting lineup, and he struggled to score the ball, right? But he did a good job facilitating, still running the show. But that's the benefit of being able to play alongside other superstar players like Kevin Durant, like Alperen Sengun, to alleviate some of that pressure on him. But then you also have moments like this where single-handedly he can bring you back into a game like he did against the Nuggets and be the reason that a game completely turns on its head, or he can be your number one option, your leading point getter, your bucket getter, your go-to guy in a game like this against the Warriors. I've been blown away by how quickly and how much better Reed Sheppard has gotten in such a short amount of time. The Rockets really got one with him. And when we look back, when it's all said and done, and we look back at the Rockets rebuilding era and all the top picks, Reed Sheppard is going to certainly be staking his claim as one of the best picks that the Rockets made throughout their rebuilding tenure. But coming up, I want to talk about the defensive side of things and how the defense put clamps on Steph Curry throughout this game, as well as getting into some of the struggles for Alperen Sengun and Ime Thompson and other thoughts from this one. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand like Reed Sheppard, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, you can take a look at the odds-on favorites to win the title this year in the NBA. The Rockets, fourth best odds at plus 1,100. Cavaliers directly in front of them at plus 950. The Nuggets in second place at plus 700. And then the Thunder still favorites to repeat at plus 145. So for all those odds and so much more, go to FanDuel.com, where they are giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Again, head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Now, if you listen to our previous episode where we kind of previewed this game, right, the Warriors are not a great offensive team this season. In fact, they're bottom 10 in offensive rating. Their offense has not looked good for big stretches of this season. And that manifested itself a little bit here in this game. But credit to the Rockets defense, man. The Rockets defense was swarming in the second half of this game. They only gave up 41 second half points to the Warriors. They held them to just 17 points in the third quarter, only 24 points in that final frame. And that third quarter is where the Rockets kind of started to mount their comeback a little bit and really build, like drag, kind of squeeze their way back in this game, right? It was a 12-point game at halftime. And it was the close to that third quarter, that momentum that the Rockets had at the end of the third quarter and then the start of the fourth quarter. Aaron Holiday hitting a really big three to take the lead at the top of the fourth quarter. And then some really key buckets by Jayshawn Tate with the corner three-pointer. J.D. Davison had a couple back-to-back really tough buckets, including that transition layup, his first bucket of the game against he drove in and scored over the top of Draymond Green in transition. Should have been an and one, which, as an aside, the officiating felt god awful in this game. Like the flagrant foul on Ime Thompson. Like, are you kidding me? It very much felt like we were headed for one of those like Rockets versus the Warriors and the refs disaster class kind of games at one point. But the Rockets didn't let the refs get in their head. They didn't let them dictate the rest of the game. And they were able to win this one through their defense, right? Because, again, nobody had a good game. Like, Reed Sheppard had a career high, yeah, but it was on, like, really bad efficiency. And everybody was inefficient in this game for Houston. But they won it with their defense, right? And in particular, the clamps that they were able to put on Steph Curry in this game. Steph only had 14 points on 13 shots, 4 of 13 shooting for him, just 2 of 9 from downtown. He was a perfect 4 of 4 at the free throw line. And he had seven turnovers in this game. The Warriors as a team wound up turning the ball over a ton in this one. As a team, they wound up having 16 turnovers, which is that's quite a few. I mean, it's not like north of 20, but it's not a good look to have, north of 13, 14, 15 turnovers, whatever. And the Rockets were able to score 22 points off of those 16 turnovers. So they were really effective at taking advantage of those opportunities. And on the flip side, again, talked about, Reed Sheppard being, blitzed and doubled and trapped and all that. Only 2 turnovers for Reed Sheppard, only 10 turnovers for the Rockets as a team. They did a really good job taking care of the basketball in this one and not coughing it up. And especially when they didn't have their usual kind of win conditions in this one, the Rockets were still really dominant on the glass in this game. They wound up finishing with 53 rebounds in this one. The Warriors not far off, though, 47 rebounds. It was the offensive glass where the Rockets were just soaking up every single offensive rebound that came their way. 25 offensive rebounds in this game compared to just 13 offensive rebounds for the Warriors. But the difference being the Warriors did more with their offensive rebounds than the Rockets did, because they both teams tied for 17 second chance points in this game. And so there were a lot of moments where the Rockets would get an offensive rebound and hoist another shot, and it would brick again, and they get another offensive rebound. There were a lot of moments like that, whereas on the Warriors side of things, it felt like they would get an offensive rebound, kick out to a wide open three-pointer, knock it down, or, flip it back inside to get an easy lay-in. Shout out to, hang on, I can't shout out these guys, but kudos, I'll say kudos to Will Richard, rookie for the Warriors. He was really great on the glass. He had some great opportunities down low, just caught the Rockets defense sleeping at times. But because the Rockets didn't have their usual, rebounding advantages that they can rely on that second chance points advantage, in large part due to the absence of Steven Adams, as far as some, kind of converting on some of those second chance opportunities, they needed to find other areas that they could, ultimately have, I guess, kind of like these win conditions that they were able trying to take advantage of. And for them in this game, part of it was the fast break opportunities. So they won 13-6 in fast break points. And then they still managed to lose at the free throw line too. They wound up getting more free throws than the Warriors, because at the end of the game, right, the Warriors started having to foul and send the Rockets to the free throw line, but only 15 of 24 at the charity stripe. Like, this game was such a weird game all throughout, and it was really messy. And yet the Rockets still were able to find a way to get the win. And they also wound up, like, the Warriors wound up making them play a different brand of basketball than they usually play, right? The Rockets, while they lead the league in 3-point shooting, they trail the league. They're dead last in 3-point attempts, right? And the Rockets got up 39 3-point attempts in this game because the Warriors were daring them to hit some threes. The Warriors were packing the paint like crazy, daring them to hit shots from outside. And, the Rockets hit just enough, 28%, to get themselves over the hump. But it really kind of boiled down to just some really timely key buckets and key moments from really everybody. Like, this was such a collaborative team win by the Rockets, where everybody, I could look up and down this roster and point out how each and every player on this roster played in some way a small part of securing this win. Little key buckets here and there, a key rebound, a key defensive stop, all throughout this game. It really did feel like a complete team win. But it started with, and this is where kind of circling back to the defense, right? It all has to start with stopping Steph Curry. And honestly, even going back to the Mike D'Antoni era Rockets, the James Harden era Rockets, I don't even know if that team really defended Steph Curry as well as this team has in the Ime Udoka era, right? Like, Ime Udoka has the blueprint for guarding Steph. And look, it's Steph. It's not always going to work, because that's what superstar players do, right? But even Steph Curry talked about after the Rockets-Warriors series in the playoffs last year, right, that how hard, that was one of the hardest series, or the hardest series that he's ever gone through, with the physicality, the defense, how tough it was for him every single game. And the Rockets brought that same aggressive defensive approach to guarding Steph Curry in this game. I'm talking like defensive discipline on pick and rolls, tracking him down when he relocates for threes. Great communication on switches on the perimeter, making sure that there's always, a defender attached to Steph Curry. And there were a couple moments where he shook loose in the fourth quarter off some offensive rebounds and some kickouts. And I was gripping the chair, here it is. Here's the Steph Curry offensive rebound kick out for a three. And the Warriors are going to reel it off and run away with the win. But by then he was so out of sorts offensively, completely took him out of his rhythm that he couldn't even knock those down. And, Steph wound up leaving this game with some kind of injury. I don't know what it was, but he had a crash where he had a few moments where he hit the deck hard, right? Thompson kind of knocked him over on a drive, and that call got overturned from an offensive foul to a defensive foul, and Steph was on the floor for a minute after that one. And then there was another possession where Aaron Holiday and Alperen Sengun turned over Steph Curry out on the perimeter, and Alp and Steph kind of both went careening into the scorer's table, or not quite all the way into the scorer's table. They both kind of crashed going out of bounds, and Steph was visibly hobbling a little bit after that moment. So when you play the Rockets, you're going to come out a little bloody and bruised. And that's what kind of felt like was missing from the defense as we've navigated this season so far. But these last couple games against the Suns and now the Warriors, right? The Rockets, it feels like they're kind of tapping back into some of that defensive identity. Guys, the chemistry on the defensive side is getting better. The communication is getting better. A lot to like about what they did defensively against Steph Curry in this game. Coming up, do want to talk about some of these struggles for the two Rockets star players in this one, Alperen Sengun and Ime Thompson, as well as the other key contributors. Got to give a quick shout out to Clint Capela, who was awesome in this game. And final thoughts from this one, we're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode was brought to you by DoorDash. The NBA season is heating up, and DoorDash has found the perfect way to keep fans in their bag all season long. Whether you're watching for the highlights, your fantasy team, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes every game night even better. DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, and they're celebrating with something called the Bag Drop. Every time an NBA player scores 50 points in a game, DoorDash drops 50% off your order with Dash Pass the next day, and you're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. We're talking about player-inspired drip, exclusive gear, and stuff you'll actually want to get your hands on. So next time someone goes off for 50, use promo code NBA50 the next day to get 50% off on DoorDash with Dash Pass, plus your shot at the Bag Drop. Dash Pass members only, 50% off up to $10 the day after a 50-point game with promo code. Terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash in your bag all season long. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast, home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. And look, despite the Rockets being able to get this win, it's even more encouraging that the Rockets are able to win games even when their star players are struggling. Right? We've seen them win games this season where Kevin Durant and Alperen Sengun are both struggling, right? And so to have a game where you're expecting big performances from Alp and Ime, and then having them both kind of struggle, but still finding enough firepower, shout out Reed Sheppard, to be able to pull out the win, right? And key contributions from other guys, right? Jabari put up 15. Aaron Holiday put up 14 points on 16 shots off the bench. 16 shots, my goodness. I did not think Aaron Holiday shot the ball that much. Again, it was just one of those games, right? Aaron Holiday single-handedly tanked his three-point shooting percentage with this 3 of 11%. In fact, he might be down below 30 or below 40% for the season now. What's he at? I don't know. He dropped a few solid percentage points. He's down to 42.5. He was up at 46 or 47 or something recently, but man, that's tough. Anyways, look, the way that the Warriors were defending, right? Daring the Rockets to hit from the perimeter, and with the just absurd level of physicality that the Warriors defense was getting away with in this game, you could tell Ime Thompson was getting kind of frustrated, because there was a moment where Ime drove the ball in and he got body contact from Brandon Pajemski, and then Draymond came in from behind and swatted him. And the Draymond block was clean from behind, but there was absolutely contact before the block shot. And Ime was frustrated by that, because literally on the very next Warriors offensive possession, Jimmy Butler drove the ball in and drew a foul almost identical to what he was trying to do against Brandon Pajemski. And you could see in the background over at half court, Ime Thompson threw his hands down. He was like, come on, man. He was so upset. And this was one of those games where like the refs were certainly impacting it to an extent. There was a lot of physicality that the Warriors were getting away with defensively. And, Rockets were also getting away with some physical moments as well. So it wasn't super duper lopsided or one way or whatever. It was just one of those super ugly physical games. And I think it speaks to the mental fortitude of this Rockets team that they didn't get bogged down by the lack of, no calls or getting frustrated with the officiating, that kind of thing. That's an important kind of, like learning step for young guys, especially who can get kind of rattled by the refs at times. And so for Ime, struggling to put the ball in the hoop in this game, only 10 points on 4 of 12 shooting, missed all 3 of his 3-point attempts. Only got to the free throw line twice, knocked them both down when he did get there, but he found so many other ways, right? Specifically the rebounding department, right? 14 rebounds, led the team in rebounding this one. And I mean, he had some like man-sized rebounds in this game where he was like elevating over every other player on the floor, snatching the ball out of the air, palming it, grabbing it. Like I'm talking, he was rebounding with force in this game. And those rebounds were important, right? Because again, the Warriors were really capitalizing on some of those offensive rebounds that they did get. So for Ime to be able to walk away with 14 rebounds and close out some of those defensive possessions strong was really important for this team. He also had 3 assists, had a steal in there, and he was, a combination of him and Josh Okogie, and to a lesser degree, Jabari Smith Jr., right? Some absolutely fantastic defense on Steph Curry throughout this game, just glued to him, right? Making life so difficult for Steph. And then for Alperen Sengun, this has been kind of the third game in a row that Alpi has struggled a little bit. 16 points, 7 of 18 shooting, missed all 4 of his threes, only 2 of 5 at the free throw line, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal, only 1 turnover. So still finding ways to be effective, right? Still rebounding, still facilitating, still bending the defense when he gets the ball in the post and, kicking it out and getting the ball movement kind of started for the Rockets on a lot of possessions, offense running through him a lot in this game. But, not what we've kind of come to expect from Alpi. And I will say, I'm gonna highlight this at least once on the show, because it's been, there's this whole thing that like blew up on social media with Alperen Sengun. He was promoting, he was doing like a tourism video or something for Istanbul, and was promoting like a drink called like Rocky something Reiki. And a lot of the Turkish community took like extreme exception to this like tourism video that he did, which was like, I don't know, again, I'm just like a dumb American, but like, I don't know, it seemed pretty innocent. And so I don't know all the like the political goings ons of like why this video like blew up and why he got so much like backlash for it. And I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for Sengun. However, I like to try to remind, our listeners and remind basketball fans that like these players are humans at the end of the day, right? They're complex humans with thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And sometimes outside stuff does weigh on you, right? And we saw, these last 3 games, pretty much ever since that like incident happened with all the backlash and like a huge chunk of the Turkish community, it was a pretty big outcry for whatever reason. I don't know. And like, that's got to get to you at some point, right? Like, Alperen Sengun, who loves his homeland so much. And I don't know. I feel like it's worth at least mentioning, because it could just be as simple as he's just in a slump, but it might have something to do with that, as to like, he's got other things weighing on his mind and he just needs to like find a way to break through it, get back to his good level of play. I don't want it to feel like I'm making excuses for Alpi, because we know he's better than what he's been playing like. And he's still finding a way to still be impactful is the thing too. So, just figured I'd highlight that for anybody who's like wondering like what happened with Alpi's play over these last few games. He's got that going on a personal level. And for somebody who is, again, so indebted to and has such a deep love for his home country, to have that kind of backlash and outcry from his people, right? Like, he deals with, critics and, dumb Americans and whatever, saying all kinds of crap about him and his game and whatever. It's different when it's coming from like home, essentially. And so that's at least worth noting as far as some of potentially his struggles in recent memory or in these recent handful of games. I wanted to talk about him during, the second segment, but Clint Capela was also awesome in this game. After, a few games ago, looking like he might not have a whole lot left in the tank to be an impact contributor, Clint Capela was phenomenal in this one. In just 18 minutes of run, he had 12 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, a block, and 6 points. It was a plus 16 off the Rockets bench. And it was that bench lineup at the end of the third quarter that really started to wrestle momentum back in this game. And then at the top of the fourth quarter, building that lead out and turning from what was a 14-point deficit into, building up at one point, an 8-point, 10-point kind of lead. And then kind of just going back and forth with the Warriors the rest of the way. And then having the ability to execute down the stretch was really key in this one. So loved the activity from Clint defensively. He was super impactful in this game. And that's the beauty of the Rockets center depth is, you lose Steven Adams and then you just go straight next man up mentality. You have Clint Capela, who could arguably maybe still be a starting caliber center for certain teams in the NBA, right? So that's a major luxury for this Rockets team to be able to go to yet another great offensive rebounding presence. 8 offensive rebounds for Clint Capela in this game, which was just unbelievable. I mean, he was the biggest dude out there by like a country mile for certain lineups that the Warriors were throwing out there. When they didn't have Quentin Post out there, man, they were a very, very small team on the floor. But overall, this was like this road trip with 2 games, no Kevin Durant, to go 2-0 against what has been a very good Suns team and a very good, albeit kind of struggling Warriors team. This was a sign of, I think, things to come. Like, this Rockets team is still figuring things out. They're still young, but when they get all the right pieces and when they figure out, mainly just put Reed Sheppard in the starting lineup, but once they get everything figured out, man, like, this Rockets team is going to be one of the best 2 or 3 teams in the NBA this season. And you see it in a game like this, right? Testament to the Rockets' depth, to their next man up mentality, all the guys who stepped up in this game, guys who aren't traditionally key rotations guys, right? All 4 of the Rockets bench players in this game, 3 members, 2 official members of the Stay Ready crew. I guess Clint Capela is kind of a part of the Stay Ready crew, but Holiday, Tate, and Capela holding it down, and then J.D. Davison having some solid minutes out there as well, defended well, had the 2 buckets at the top of the fourth quarter. Really, really good win for this Rockets team. I want your thoughts on this game. I want to know about your favorite moments. What did you like? What did you dislike about this game? How confident are you in Reed Sheppard moving forward after this performance against a very good Warriors defense? Let me know your thoughts in the YouTube comments. Hopefully you're having a fantastic Turkey Day, great Thanksgiving Day, great Thanksgiving holiday with friends and family. But as always, thank you so much for checking out the show. Remember, the best way to help us grow the show is to listen wherever you listen to your podcast, and then like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.